Biden visits the site of a bridge collapse in Pittsburgh.
Across the country, there are 45,000 bridges in poor condition.
Plus, households with children need to pay attention to a letter from the IRS.
What it does do is help them get to work.
And in weather, we could see temperatures in the single digits this weekend, but a warm-up may be possible early next week. Newswatch starts right now.
And I'm Will Price, and welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. A Pittsburgh bridge collapsed today, just hours before President Joe Biden was scheduled to speak in the city about infrastructure. Officials say at least 10 people were injured when the bridge came down, but there were no fatalities. Emily Schmidt has more about the bridge and the renewed focus it places on infrastructure safety across the country.
Friday morning, a snow-covered bridge collapsed with vehicles unable to stop before the span dropped to a park below.
It's very frightening. It wasn't one noise, it was persistent.
The collapse cut a gas line. Icy roads slowed response time and hindered rescuers, authorities said.
A daisy chain with hands just grabbing people and pulling them up.
Yet the weather may have provided a silver lining.
Thankfully, the schools were on a 2-hour delay for weather, so the traffic was less than it would have been normally on a normal day.
Officials say the bridge, seen here 3 days ago, was last inspected 4 months ago in September 2021. A State Department of Transportation website lists the overall condition as poor. The collapse comes on the same day and not far from the same area where President Biden planned to talk about the recently passed bipartisan infrastructure deal. Before he did, he visited the bridge site.
Across the country, there are 45,000 bridges in poor condition. It's just simply unacceptable. And we're going to rebuild that bridge, along with thousands of other bridges in Pennsylvania and across the country.
Officials say they are fortunate no one died here. But in a place known as the City of Bridges, this collapse is a heavy load to bear. I'm Emily Schmidt reporting.
President Biden is calling this plan the largest investment in the nation's bridges since the interstate highway system was established during the Eisenhower administration. Now let's head outside with forecaster Henry Groff to talk about the snow we saw this morning.
Thank you, Will. I'm outside on College Green at Ohio University, where we've seen a week of freezing temperatures and a couple days of snow. But we did see a light accumulation today, and looking on the map, we did see about 2 inches of snow here in Athens, and towards New Martinsville, we saw about 3 inches of snow. But right now, outside, it is about 26 degrees, and those temperatures are going to continue to drop overnight. Also, we do have a wind chill of about 16 degrees. That wind chill is also going to be dropping below zero overnight. Looking across the region right now, temperatures are in the low 20s across Columbus, and down south around Ironton and Ripley, it is in the low 30s. But again, those temperatures are going to be dropping rapidly overnight. Looking at the weather headlines this week and coming up on later in the forecast, we're going to be looking at frigid morning temperatures this weekend, but sunny skies are ahead for Saturday. And could we see a warm-up early next week? I'm going to be handing it back to Fallon in the warm studio.
Many Chillicothe residents claim to have heard a sonic boom this week. Master Sergeant Elizabeth Halliker says the pilots were authorized to break the sound barrier during training, but they were trying to avoid it. Last night was the final time this month the 180th Fighter Wing will have a night flight in southern Ohio. Senior Master Sergeant Halliker tells the Chillicothe Gazette the Ohio Air National Guard practiced night flying Monday through Thursday. A 33-year-old man from Dayton has been convicted in the murder of Mansfield couple stemming back to November of 2019. Tyler Rogers was found guilty Thursday on 4 counts. This included aggravated murder, kidnapping, and felonious assault. Rogers will also receive involuntary manslaughter and weapons offense charges. The victims were discovered in separate homes days after they were reported missing. Rogers will be sentenced on February 11th. Deputies were called to a home in the Trace Fork Road area following reports of gunshots fired inside a home with children and adults inside. Jackson County Sheriff Tony Boggs tells WSAZ that when police arrived, they found a 32-year-old Matthew Elkins in the front yard with a loaded handgun. Shortly after, Elkins placed the handgun to his head, causing deputy to fire one round and hit Elkins in the hand, causing him to drop the gun. Elkins was then transported to the hospital. After release, the sheriff says he will be taken to the South Central Regional Jail on endangerment charges. A debate over a penalty for adults smoking with children in the car is underway in the West Virginia Senate. Senate Bill 139 passed through the Health and Human Resource Committee Thursday and will make it a misdemeanor to smoke in the car with a child under 16. Senator Mike Azinger says he thinks parents should have the right to smoke in their car with their kids if they want to. But Senator Tom Tekuba is a Charleston lung doctor and says the bill is inspired by a patient who lost half of her lung function. The bill is planned to be renewed by the Judiciary Committee.
Today is the last day to apply for disaster unemployment for victims of the tornadoes that went through Kentucky last month. According to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, applicants must be unable to receive other kinds of employment aid. Applicants must also explain how, where, and when their job was lost. Residents of 16 different counties listed throughout the state of Kentucky are eligible, and residents must turn in applications by the end of the day to be considered for aid from the state. Russian forces are building up to full strength at the Ukrainian border. And the assault-style rifle used by Kyle Rittenhouse will be destroyed. This and more when Newswatch returns.
He had a sound that was like nobody else.
He was a phenomenal entertainer. He was a phenomenal player.
I don't care who it is. If they're going to pick up the guitar and they're going to play rock and roll, they're going to start with Chuck Berry.
I wanted to sing like Nat Cole, with lyrics like Louis Jordan, with the swing of Benny Goodman, and with the soul of Muddy Waters.
He'll always be considered the king of rock and roll.
Next time on Unforgivable Blackness, Jack Johnson stands atop the boxing world, but his world is about to come crashing down.
Certain unfair persons decided that they could not get me one way, they would another.
Don't miss the conclusion of Unforgivable Blackness, the rise and fall of Jack Johnson.
Spend a year with activist Greta Thunberg.
I don't want you to listen to me. I want you to listen to the science.
On her journey to combat climate change.
We cannot look away from this crisis anymore.
From the front lines of environmental science.
We know we're not bringing this glacier back.
To speaking truth to power.
You haven't seen anything yet.
This is Greta Thunberg, a year to change the world.
2 weeks in the books and the action is getting more intense. Can the Nelsonville York girls keep their TVC title chances alive? And Megs takes on Vinton County with the TVC title on the line. Also, be sure to keep an eye out for our Beyond the Court segment, which takes place at Federal Hawking High School. Catch all these heroics and more by tuning into WEB Sunday nights at 11 and Monday nights at 6. Or you can follow along on social media. Once again, we're reminding you to be heroic.
The U.S. is warning that Russia's buildup of troops along the Ukrainian border gives Russia a full scope of military choices. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said in a briefing today that includes actions just short of full-scale invasion. While President Vladimir Putin says Russia won't start a war in Ukraine, Russia believes the West hasn't taken concerns about its own security seriously. At the briefing, Army General Mark Milley implored Russia to stay diplomatic.
If that was unleashed on Ukraine, it would be significant, very significant, and it would result in a significant amount of casualties. And you can imagine what that might look like in dense urban areas, along roads and so on and so forth. It would be horrific. It would be terrible. And it's not necessary, and we think a diplomatic outcome is the way to go here.
The briefing this afternoon was the first time Austin and Millie commented extensively on the buildup in Ukraine. The assault-style rifle used by Kyle Rittenhouse to kill 2 people and wound a third during a 2020 protest in Wisconsin will be destroyed. Judge Bruce Schroeder approved the lawyer agreement today. Assistant District Attorney Thomas Binger said the state crime lab would destroy the gun. This comes after Rittenhouse's attorney filed a motion asking prosecutors to return the rifle. A spokesperson for Rittenhouse said that he wanted to destroy the rifle so it couldn't be used as a political symbol or trophy. The trial for the murder of Memphis rapper Young Dolph is set for the month of February. A judge has informed Cornelia Smith and Justin Johnson, the 2 prime suspects, that they must have attorneys by February 4th or they will be appointed one. Authorities say that the suspects arrived at a local cookie shop at the same time Young Dolph was present and opened fire on the rapper. Johnson was on the run, but eventually captured in Indiana earlier this month. He was previously charged and sentenced to 5 years for a triple shooting in Memphis that occurred in 2017. However, his sentence only lasted a few months after a judge approved of his release.
While the future of monthly child tax credit payments remain in limbo, households with children should pay close attention to a letter from the IRS. Karen Kafa runs down what's important to know and what's ahead for bringing them back.
As tax season begins, millions of U.S. households with children are receiving IRS Letter 6419, and experts say it's important.
It documents how many children the IRS is aware of that you have or dependents that qualify for the child tax credit, and it tells you how much payment the IRS made on your behalf throughout 2021.
From July through December 2021, the IRS says more than 36 million households received monthly advances on 2021 tax credits for children under age 17. The payments, part of the $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan signed by President Joe Biden last March. Caroline Bruckner, managing director of the Kogod Tax Policy Center at American University, says this will require extra attention when you file your taxes.
In recognizing that this may be a little bit confusing, the IRS rolled out a new website, the childtaxcredit.gov website, where you can go to research how much you should have received, how much you did receive, and reconcile that letter with what you actually got.
The number on the letter should represent half of the amount to which a household was entitled. The other half can be claimed on a 2021 return. There were no payments in January 2022. The program expired with Biden's social safety net package mired in Senate gridlock.
We hear from families themselves that they said, the child tax credit is not nearly enough to sort of live on or give up their paid work for. What it does do is help them get to work, by making sure they can cover childcare expenses, put gas in the car.
Megan Curran of the Center on Poverty and Social Policy at the Columbia University School of Social Work says research showed the payments helped lower child poverty rates and child hunger.
The number one use of the child tax credit payments has been on food.
In addition to reviving the child tax payments for 2022, the stalled Biden Build Back Better bill wants to boost funding for the overstretched IRS. Without that, this tax season, Bruckner urges taxpayers to seek help early, especially with pandemic-era programs.
This has created just an extraordinary amount of work with fewer folks to actually do that work than at any other time, and this is also compounded by the reality of the pandemic.
The filing deadline for most taxpayers is Monday, April 18th. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
We're going to see frigid temperatures again this weekend, but a warm up may be possible heading into next week. I'll have more on this in my full forecast coming up, but first a look at stocks of local interest.
We realized there was a big problem along the border, and I don't think anybody realized just how big it was.
When people cross, they have to walk around the checkpoint, and this is where people die.
An illegal alien crosser is an illegal alien crosser.
I'm very worried because my cousin Juan has been missing for 3 days.
This is Eddie Canales of the South Texas Human Rights Center.
I located a body.
Missing in Brooks County, Monday, January 31st at 10 on Independent Lens.
Next time on Unforgivable Blackness. Jack Johnson stands atop the boxing world, but his world is about to come crashing down.
Certain unfair persons decided that they could not get me one way, they would another.
Don't miss the conclusion of Unforgivable Blackness, the rise and fall of Jack Johnson.
He had a sound that was like nobody else.
He was a phenomenal entertainer. He was a phenomenal player.
I don't care who it is, if they're going to pick up the guitar and they're going to play rock and roll, they're going to start with Chuck Berry.
I wanted to sing like Nat Cole, with lyrics like Louis Jordan, with the swing of Benny Goodman, and with the soul of Muddy Waters.
He'll always be considered the king of rock and roll.
Two weeks in the books and the action is getting more intense. Can the Nelsonville York girls keep their TVC title chances alive? And Megs takes on Vinton County with the TVC title on the line. Also, be sure to keep an eye out for our Beyond the Court segment, which takes place at Federal Hawking High School. Catch all these heroics and more by tuning into WOUB Sunday nights at 11 and Monday nights at 6. Or you can follow along on social media. Once again, we're reminding you to be heroic.
Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm forecaster Henry Groff with a look at your weather. So we saw some light snow accumulation this morning, but temperatures have remained very chilly even though it's been in the 30s. Definitely a little bit warmer than what we saw earlier this week. But we're going to be seeing a quick cool down. But first, looking at the visible satellite, you do see ample cloud cover, and that's with the system that we're going to be seeing head off the coast overnight tonight. And that is going to be the nor'easter that's going to be moving through the northeast tomorrow. As you can see right now, it's around the southern coast of the United States. That will be moving off overnight and turning into the nor'easter, which will drop around like 30 inches of snow up in Massachusetts. But back here, looking at tonight, going to be looking at temperatures in the low 20s, and then by around 10 o'clock, we're going to be seeing temperatures at around 18 degrees. There will be some clearing. That's going to allow for temperatures to cool down even more. And by tonight, we're going to be heading down to around 7 degrees with wind chills probably at around -2 degrees. We do have a wind out from the north at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. That northerly wind is what's bringing in the colder air from Canada. Looking at across the regions, temperatures are going to be even colder up north with Newark at around 3 degrees, and down south to Ironton, we're going to be at around 10 degrees. So it's going to be a really chilly night tonight. Looking at tomorrow, high pressure does build in for us, and by tomorrow evening, we're going to be seeing that nor'easter move off the east coast after it's dumped around 30 inches of snow on the ground. Looking at tomorrow morning at around 8 a.m., we're going to be at around 7 degrees. It's going to be really cold tomorrow morning, and by around noon, we should see decreasing clouds and more sunny skies. Temperatures will be up at around 18 degrees with sunny skies. But temperatures will be reaching up to around 22 degrees. Wind chills will still be at around the teens, again with that northerly wind out from the north at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And across the regions, temperatures aren't really warming up that much, with temperatures in the low 20s towards the north, with Columbus at around 20 degrees. Down south, we're going to be at around 26 degrees in Ironton. And again, Athens at around 22. We're going to be seeing plenty of sunshine tomorrow, but still really, really cold. And looking at the temperatures for tomorrow night, it's going to be even colder, with Athens at around 6 degrees. Ironton still in the teens. Columbus will be heading down to around 9 degrees. But looking at the 7-day forecast, pay close attention to the forecast for Wednesday and Thursday, as we are right now tracking a low pressure system moving through our area for those days. Right now we do have forecasts in the mid-40s, but depending how this low pressure system tracks, we could see either warmer temperatures or colder temperatures. So I need to emphasize that Wednesday and Thursday are the most important. But that's it for weather here. I'm going to be handing it back over to Fallon.
A bomb cyclone or a nor'easter is forecasted to form in the Atlantic Ocean today and work its way up to the East Coast over the weekend. Chris Wynn is in Boston, where the brunt of the winter weather is expected to hit.
Heavy snow, hurricane-force winds, and coastal flooding. A powerful and potentially dangerous storm has millions of people in its path.
This has the potential to be a historic storm, a huge one.
The storm, known as a bomb cyclone, is forecasted to form late Friday off the Carolinas and quickly strengthen as it moves up the East Coast.
This is likely to be an intense, dangerous storm with heavy snow, high winds, and whiteout conditions.
The wicked weather predicted to pummel parts of the Northeast. Blizzard warnings expanded on Friday to cover 10 million people across 10 states.
This is heart attack snow coming, you know.
Whiteout conditions could make travel impossible. Airlines canceled more than 2,000 flights for Saturday as cities check their salt supplies and prepare their plows.
We've replenished salt supplies in anticipation of the storm, and we are close to full capacity.
The double whammy of heavy snow and high winds could down power lines and knock out power.
Unless it's a storm of biblical proportions, I'm going to be okay, but for maybe loss of power.
Ahead of the nor'easter, people pack grocery stores to stock up.
Just some bread, make some sandwiches, little things just in case.
Before they hunker down.
Be smart about it. Make sure my phone is charged, my laptops are charged. But otherwise, you know, I sort of give it up to the universe, and we love storms around here.
In Boston, I'm Chris Wynn.
While this region may not experience the blunt of the storm, those living locally are encouraged to stay safe when leaving their house this weekend during this winter weather.
Coming up in sports, Ohio basketball has a busy weekend ahead, and Ohio hockey is looking to close out January on the right foot. And don't forget about Hardwood Heroes either. That's all coming up next. And be sure to stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
Two weeks in the books and the action is getting more intense. Can the Nelsonville York girls keep their TVC title chances alive? And Megs takes on Vinton County with the TVC title on the line. Also, be sure to keep an eye out for our Beyond the Court segment, which takes place at Federal Hawking High School. Catch all these heroics and more by tuning into WAB Sunday nights at 11 and Monday nights at 6. Or you can follow along on social media. Once again, we're reminding you to be heroic.
This month in Passport on the PBS video app, your on-demand library for the best of PBS.
You're back. It's good to have you home, James. I'd like to have danced with you again.
If your toes can take it.
You belong here. This is your home.
It completely shocked our theories of planets and how they form.
It's just mind-blowing. Very early on, I realized that getting attention was a very nice thing.
These and other shows are available with Passport on the PBS video app. Download it today.
Next time on Antiques Roadshow, there are lessons to be learned.
Actually, the bowl we used to use as our key bowl in my apartment in Brooklyn. So I don't think we should be throwing our keys in it.
And good news to share.
The best I can tell in the mounting is I would call it fancy yellow.
I like that.
You like that?
It's Antiques Roadshow. Next time from Sands Point Preserve in Sands Point, New York.
Next time on Unforgivable Blackness. Jack Johnson stands atop the boxing world, but his world is about to come crashing down.
Certain unfair persons decided that they could not get me one way, they would another.
Don't miss the conclusion of Unforgivable Blackness, the rise and fall of Jack Johnson.
Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Darius Sethna. The Ohio men's basketball team looks to continue its winning ways against Buffalo tonight. The Bobcats will have a challenge awaiting them on the road after their 74-62 win over Northern Illinois. At home on Tuesday, Buffalo holds the 4th seed in the MAC standings and suffered an 11-point loss on the road to Toledo in its last game. Head coach Jeff Bull says knocking down their shots is important against all elite teams, especially the Bulls.
I think we're getting good looks. I'd have to go back and look at it, but we're missing a lot of wide open ones.
And it was even first half against Toledo, we were 3 for 15. We had some really, really good looks. And against a team like Toledo, you have to make those. With the cushion that we had, we could afford to miss, the ones that we missed.
Tip-off for tonight's game is set for 7 p.m. Ohio women's basketball also has a road matchup this weekend. The Bobcats are in Michigan for a matinee contest tomorrow afternoon against the Western Michigan Broncos. It has been a great week for the women's team. They have won 3 consecutive games, all against MAC opponents. This includes a big-time victory Wednesday in Toledo, 79-72. CC Hooks dropped 30 points in the win, helping Ohio secure their 9th MAC victory and an 11-5 record overall. The Bobcats and Broncos will battle it out in Kalamazoo for game time set for 2 p.m. Ohio hockey prepares for their final doubleheader in the month of January this weekend. They want to win both games after splitting with Iowa State on the road last weekend, and the Bobcats are in Wentzville, Missouri for back-to-back games today and tomorrow against Lindenwood University. The two teams face off again here in Athens next weekend at Byrd Arena. Ohio holds a record of 14-9, and JT Smizzy leads the team with 16 goals scored on the season thus far. It's been a very exciting week for Hardwood Heroes. And our feature game from this week is from Tuesday when the Vinton County boys team took on Meigs. It was a struggle for Meigs from beyond the arc in this one, going 3 for 23 from downtown, but it was their strong defensive schemes that fueled a late comeback for the Marauders. Braylon Domrin was the hero for Vinton County in this one, drilling 6 3-pointers to help secure a major 61-50 victory for the Vikings.
There's just no nights off in this league. If you look at this league, everybody's lost to somebody that you think, oh man, I wasn't expecting that. Or, it's a league full of upsets. It's a league full of parity. So we'll have our work cut out Friday. If you come in flat in this league, you're going to get beat.
Here is our list for the other boys' games taking place this weekend. We're in for 4 terrific matchups as Trimble battles Eastern, Nelsonville York faces Meigs, the Vikings go up against the Athens Bulldogs, and South Gallia takes on Federal Hocking. And watch the full Hardwood Hero show on Sundays at 11 p.m. on WOUB. And it's just going to be a terrific weekend of basketball. William, we've got Ohio playing Buffalo. We've got the women's team up on the road in Kalamazoo. Definitely some great highlights you're going to get to see this weekend.
There is definitely a lot of good basketball to go on in this region this weekend. Thank you so much, Darius. And we're going to stick on the topic of sports. Athletes representing the United States recently departed for Beijing, ahead of the Winter Olympics that take place from February 4th to the 20th. Athletes have expressed their concerns about COVID-19. Prior to departing the U.S., all Olympic athletes recorded 2 negative tests and must continue daily testing while in Beijing. At last year's Summer Olympics in Tokyo, 41 athletes tested positive for COVID-19, so the stakes are high for all participants involved. The objective for the Winter Olympics is clear: stay COVID-free and go for gold.
Well, while we're on the topic of winter, it's definitely going to feel really cold tomorrow with a high of around 22 degrees. With our northerly wind from 5 to 10 miles per hour, we're definitely going to see wind chills down into the teens, and that can be said for the rest of the region, where even though we're going to have sunny skies in the afternoon, it's going to feel really, really cold with temperatures in the low 20s and wind chills down towards the teens. Looking into next week, we're going to continue to see this cold weather through Sunday. We may see a warm up on Monday, but hopefully next week, when this low pressure system moves in, we might see some more warmer weather, but we still have a lot of time to see how that's going to play out.
And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Fallon Howard.
And I'm Will Price. For Darius Setha and Henry Groff, have a great weekend. And make sure you stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at woub.org. Have a great night.
Support comes from Goldsberry Wealth Strategies in Athens and Parkersburg, focusing on helping people achieve a life well lived with a custom strategy.